Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi there.
Welcome to the Fundraiser's Guide to Digital 2023. Can't believe it's a year since we did this. My name is Alan Archbold. I'm one of the creative directors in Persuasion Republic, and I'm here with Anita.
Hello. I'm here with Havas Media.
We're here in the wonderful offices of Havas Media to do the second version of the Fundraiser's Guide to Digital. We started it last year. Some of you may be with us. If you were and you've come back, thanks a million. We'll wait a couple of minutes just as people come on board. We've quite a number of people joining us today, which is great. Just to let you know, we started doing this last year and wanted to repeat it this year because we kept on finding with clients that we work with, we kept on having the same conversations, same issues, same sort of key problems, same key questions kept coming up. And the same sort of fears. It's a huge thesis of mine. There's a huge amount of fear about digital. It's this scary thing that sits over in the corner that we have to try and comprehend, and we're terrified of it. And that doesn't have to be the case. So a lot of what we want to talk about is demystifying that, keeping things really nice and simple, empowering you in all that you're trying to do and the work you're trying to do, that you don't have to understand how the entire internet works. You just need to how to work your channels as best for you. So that's what this is about. To just give you some sort of top tips about it, what we've learned from our experience and other clients' experience, and to try guide you through it. I think we have a few people, and we're sitting here all nice and calm. There's an army of people behind over here. We're pressing buttons and pulling wires. Katie and Fiona in particular, thank you. Thanks for all the help. If you start sharing the screen again, I get to do my late and say roll it there, Katie. And I'll take you through. Anisha's going to jump back on later on. I'm going to take you to the first part of the seminar. So I'm hoping this works. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for filling out all the questions that we asked you to fill when you registered. We wanted to help us guide what we wanted to talk about, to see what matters were of interest to you, what questions that you had. It was really interesting. Like any survey, as you know, as fundraisers, any survey that you do, it was really, really telling. By far and away, the most popular topic of the list of topics we gave to choose from was talking about the donor journey. And we've been saying here, the team here in Havas and with all our team in Persuasion Republic, certainly from our perspective, the donor journey is the sort of fashionable word of this sector this year. Everybody's talking about donor journeys. How do we make a better donor journey? What is a donor journey? How do we do it? It's great that we're finally at that stage, but it's so much part of the zeitgeist. So a lot of what we're going to talk about over the next couple of sessions is about the various components of that donor journey, how you make them work and how you all connect them together. To take you through it briefly, today's first session, we're going to talk about I want to take a step back before we dig into the weeds and into the wires and all the plugins of actual digital. I want to take a step back and look at it from a more holistic point of view, just to sort of challenge some of the preconceptions we have about digital, some of the ways that we hamstring ourselves and frighten ourselves into a sort of a paralysis and not being able to do the simple things we should be able to do. I want to do that, which involves unpacking and rebuilding the donor journey a little bit. What is it exactly? How is it made up exactly? And then talk about building a compelling integrated narrative. Integrated is a word you're going to hear us say all the time across all your digital, because one of the key points we're going to make is not to think of digital in isolation, just to think of digital as a natural and organic part of everything that you do. And specifically today, Anita is going to talk about owned media and the role that plays in that. In future sessions, we're going to have another one in 2 weeks' time. We're going to talk specifically about how to acquire new and regular donors on digital, sort of a map out of a program for that. We in Persuasion Public, we offered to quite a few clients this sort of quite detailed and forensic sort of a model that will help you build that. But there are all kinds of tips and learnings and things that you can do simply yourself to try and boost your acquisition of donors. We're also going to talk about programmatic media in the digital journey and getting the most out of your Google grants, which again was one of the top things that people wanted to talk about. And in the third session, we want to talk about social media and how it's used and how you can get the most out of it without tearing yourself and driving yourself insane with complications. And then we're going to talk about Google Analytics, again, one of the topics that people want to talk about most. And then we're going to talk about, from my perspective, the most important thing of all, which is the power of email. You'll hear me talk about this through this session. You'll hear me talk about it anytime you meet me. You'll hear me talk about it through all the rest of the sessions. If you could take one thing away from these seminars, it would be this: send more emails and send better emails. If you take nothing else but that, you'll have improved your digital fundraising. So to begin, I want to demystify digital. I think this, and I learned this lesson myself. It took me a while. When I first went into digital, I was the Luddite. I was going, I don't understand any of this. I don't have a Facebook account. All of this frightens me. It's taken me a long while to realize that there is no huge cliff to fall off. It's all very, very simple. There's a huge complexity behind it. So I liken it to I have no idea how a car works. I have no idea how to repair one, but I'm a good driver and I know how to get to where I'm going. And it's very much the same with how you operate your digital. Um, but I want to break down some of the preconceptions first. If you Google digital and you ask for images, that's what you get. That's the first page. So it seems quite clearly that digital is blue. That's the most important thing. And we've designed the backdrop of our seminar for that reason. You'll also see that it's inhuman. It's cold, it's analytical, it's AI, it's terrifying. When we talk about digital, we talk about hacks and we talk about the threat of AI. We talk about this looming monster as opposed to this simple way that we live our lives. I'm a creative director in Persuasion Republic. For those of you who don't know, we're a full service agency that works exclusively with not-for-profits and charities. And we work across everything that you do: individual giving, major gifts, legacies, fundraising plans, digital audits, campaigns, all kinds of things with organizations big and small. And there's a digital element in everything that we do. And it looks like this. It's people. It's stories, it's smiles, it's tears, it's all the stuff that you work with day on day. It's not blue, it's not AI, it's not terrifying, it's human and it's emotional. That's what digital is. That's the digital that people engage with. The other thing about digital, we have this great notion of the digital landscape, that it's vast and it's so complicated and there's no way on earth I'm going to be able to understand it all. And we go in with that fear. So again, if you Google, we went through this last year briefly, if you Google the digital landscape, this is what you get, these kind of images, which are terrifying. Whereas the digital landscape, and the only digital landscape that matters and the only one you have to think about, is that it's the phone in a person's hand, or it's the computer screen or the tablet in front of them. That's the landscape. Digital is whatever appears on that screen and how they interact with it and how they don't interact with it. That's all that matters, and that's the only landscape you need to think about. So the other thing we come across all the time is people saying, I'm not digital, I don't understand it. And you might have this within your own organization, people who are resistant to it, who think of it as this alien thing that's over there that has to be encountered, and therefore aren't necessarily interested in investing in it, or funding it, or spending time on it. So I like to do this little quiz with them, and I like to do this little quiz with myself. It's really interesting, and I'll take you through it because it's quite telling. So firstly, the first question, I want you to answer honestly to yourselves. You don't say it to anybody else. When did you first look at your phone today? Think about it for a second. Be honest. According to Deloitte, 74% of people look at their phones within 30 minutes. To be perfectly honest, when I saw that stat, I said, why did it take them so long? That's a confession. I want to ask you, how long did you spend on your phone yesterday? And how long did you spend on your computer yesterday? Your phone will actually tell you. You might get this annoying little update from your phone if you have an iPhone like I do. It'll tell you what your screen time was yesterday. You tend not to look at it because it's a slightly scary figure. According to the Global Web Index, back in 2019, the average person spent 6 hours and 37 minutes looking at a screen. That's a working day when you take out a lunch break and a coffee break. An entire working day looking at a screen. That's how much we engage with digital. That peaked slightly, which is interesting, during COVID for obvious reasons. And by most trends and most of the studies that are coming out, it's gone back down to sort of 2019 levels, which sort of suggests this is now our new baseline. That's how much time that we spend with it. According to one place called the datareportal.com, if you don't know, you should look it up. They do great studies of research on things. Their review of Ireland says that there's 4.99 million internet users in Ireland, which is 99% of the population. These may all not be individual people, there might be different service accounts, but still, massive numbers. 4.2 million social media users, 2.5 million Facebook users. According to the CSO, 94% of internet users go online every day. Most of them describe themselves as being on all the time. And over 80% of those people shop, bank, book, or order online, which means they trust the process. They're quite prepared now to spend money, to use their cards, to click the link, to donate, do all that. Your donations the valuable donations you're looking for, are not this scary thing to people anymore. Everybody's so accustomed to transacting through digital mediums. This is a quote, I'm going to leave my glasses for this. This is a quote from the CSO. As our lives have become more digital, we are accessing the internet more frequently on a daily basis. Of daily internet users, more than 4 in 10 use it all the time or nearly all the time. That's our census. Email. I want to talk about email. Answer the question, if you can, how many emails did you receive yesterday? And how many emails did you send yesterday? Work, not work related, doesn't matter. How many emails came to you? You'll find it's a staggering amount. You'll get all kinds of different studies telling you stuff. I tried to find a definitive figure. I couldn't. Anybody will tell you between 40 or 100 per day per person. But even if it's at the 40 or if it's up to the 100, that's a staggering amount of communication going on every single day. But it's not just visual. This is a really important thing to remember about digital. It's not just visual. Everybody now is listening to podcasts. When was the last time you listened to a podcast? I dare say that everybody currently watching this seminar has listened to one very recently, the last week or two. 23% of the population, according to Jane Allure. Jane Allure, who then obviously will tell you that radio is still by far and away the most powerful medium, with weekly listening figures of 90% of the population. Again, interestingly, a huge amount of people now, me included, listen to their radio on their phone or on their laptop, while also consuming other media and other digital images while that's happening. The point being, digital is not the scary thing that's in the corner. It's not this thing that we don't know how to use. We are digital. Everything is digital. Everything about our lives is digital. We are completely immersed in digital. You speak fluent digital. Every single one of us does. We may not know how Google works or how the computer works, but we are utterly fluent in digital communication, utterly fluent. And we should remember that and give yourself that credit when you're dealing with your digital. This is the world we live in. There's a wonderful TV ad at the minute that when the television program finishes, the family are sitting watching. As soon as it goes on break, everybody goes onto their phones. This picture you see everywhere. We live, the screens that we have in our hand and the screens in front of us are the windows that we look into the world now. They're the windows we talk to each other through. And they're the windows that your donors and supporters engage with you through and that you engage with them. Really interesting question is why people go online. There's been studies done to this. Again, this is coming from the datareportal.com. This is really interesting. The number one reason when surveyed why people went online was to find information, 57.8%. After that was staying in touch with people. After that was keeping up to date with news. Quite down the line, what kind of number of things between that in the 40s, before you get down to general browsing and filling time, which is the thing that we beat ourselves up over. I'm going to have to go on a screen detox because I spend all my time doom scrolling, just flicking, going through stuff. We don't actually spend. That's not the main reason that we go online. The main reason we go online is we're looking for something. We're looking for information. We're looking for stimulus. We're looking for something to interest us. I describe it as me looking for a wedding present, a Christmas present for my wife. I have no idea what I'm looking for. So I just browse, but I'll know it when I see it. Something will catch my eye and I'll go, oh, that's what I want. That's how we engage with digital media. This is who we are when we're on the internet. We are scanning, that we are being bombarded with all kinds of information coming to us from right, left, and center. And we are scanning around looking for something that engages us, looking for something that means something to us, looking for that kind of engagement. So the question becomes, how do you best engage with that? But here's the question, the last question of the quiz. How many of the emails that you got yesterday did you actually open? How many did you actually read? Because for all of the information that's coming to us, we are very, very, very lax in opening it. These stats come from MailChimp. I just got them online. The open rate for not-for-profits, they categorize it by sector. Opening rates for not-for-profits, they say about 25%. Interestingly, they say the high, so you can gauge it against it, is 28% for government, and the low being vitamin supplements at 15%. And the click-through rate. So even if all those people are out there engaged looking for stuff, and they find communication from you, 25% will open it. 2% will click through on the thing. It's very low. The unsubscribe rate is tiny. Think about the Google ads. Think about all the social media ads. Think about all the ads that you're being bombarded with all the time. Through your 6 hours and 37 minutes yesterday on your screen, how many ads did you see? Answer would be clearly hundreds. How many of them do you remember? How many stuck with you? And when was the last time you actually clicked on one? So we spend so much time creating digital content, putting it out online, desperately trying to get people to click it, fascinated over click-through rates and all that, how they're engaging with it, dismayed when the numbers are low, when that's the way that people engage with the internet. That's the way that people engage with digital content. We consume, we're very, very selective in what we consume. So the question becomes, for that donor, for that supporter of yours that's out there, how do you engage with them? How do you get them to look at your material? How do you get to engage with it? But that's kind of the wrong question. The question you need to ask yourself is, how do we help them find what they're looking for? There's a kind of a myth, I always think, in fundraising generally. It's built in the language that we talk about. We talk about cultivating donors. We talk about converting warm into cold. We talk about the full funnel approach, which we'll talk about shortly, of trying to guide people through this. And it's implied in that we actually have some kind of magical ability, a con man's ability to twist people's arms and convince them to give money. I've been fundraising for a long time and involved in all kinds of campaigns. I have never come across anybody that I think I've made give money. Supporters and donors of yours are out there, want to help. They're interested in your organization because they like your organization and they want to help you in some kind of way. All you can do is make it possible for them to do that. So your digital advertising, your emails out to them, your digital content should think about it in a way of, our supporters are out there, they want to help. How do we help them do that? One of the key ways is a landing page. Think about it for a second. While I'm out browsing around, if I see something that interests me and I click on it, the next thing I go to has got to satisfy me. It's got to provide me more content and deeper content. I've said I want to engage a little bit, so now I need to engage. So a landing page, for an example, is one of the key things that you can do for any campaign or appeal that you have out there. That when you ask somebody to click something or go somewhere, that what they find there satisfies the need that they had by going there. This is a landing page that we did for Light Up a Life, or the Hitch Light Up a Life. We build the page, we designed the graphics for it. But it's a lovely, welcoming thing when you click on an ad for that to land there, and it's full of more information. They're vital things. We talk about full funnel all the time. Again, it's that sort of deception that's in our language. We talk about the full funnel model is great and it works a treat. So you build awareness first, then you build more deeper consideration, and then you get conversion to action. But implied into it again is this thing that we can attract a donor with something shiny. You can then bring them down into a deeper engagement, and eventually they'll donate. It suggests that it's linear, whereas the truth about digital communication is that it's all on, all the time, all of it. And the donor can choose what they see. They can browse whenever they want. They go to your website, click on an ad. They can share stuff with each other anytime they want. So you don't know which bit of this they're going to see at any point in time, which is why it's so important to have integrated messaging across all of your channels, so that wherever your donor lands, they're going to find the messages that they need, the messages that will say, do you care about this? Would you like to help? Here's some more information. The full funnel, rather than trying to lead people convert them into donors, it's better to think of it as that you are helping to guide them towards a deeper connection, trying to guide them towards the thing that they want to do. So the question then you ask yourself is, how do you create a more effective donor journey? The answer is this: you don't. What you do is you create a more effective supporter journey. As fundraisers, we are fixated on that one moment when somebody donates. And it is just one moment. There is a huge amount of engagement and development with your issue, with your cause and your organization that happens before that moment, and a huge amount that happens after it. The more you focus on what happens before the donation and what happens after the donation, the more the donation will take care of itself. If you don't focus on and have good content material for people before they donate, and have really good content and good engagement with them after they've donated, the donation itself becomes largely worthless. So how do you do that? Simple steps. Do a digital audit. Now, you can do this forensically. Have us do the same. All agents do the same. We do it here for clients. We can do a forensic audit for you and go through all of your website, all of your social media, all through your database, give a thorough analysis of what's going on and what can help. But there's so much you can do yourself, just on a what I would call an anecdotal level. But the key is that you look at it from your supporters' perspective. Don't look at it internally. Look at it from your supporters' perspective. Digitally audit yourself from their point of view. So first ask yourself, who are they? Get to know them as much as you can, find out about them as much as you can, talk to them as much as you can, the ones that you do have to learn. And ask yourself, what channels do they use? And what channels do they actually engage with you on? You might have a very active LinkedIn account, but you don't really get an awful lot of engagement on it, but you do on Instagram. You should listen to that. What content do they actually engage with? And these questions, I think, can be really useful. They'd be quite challenging to answer, but they're really useful. What do they want out of your digital? You know what you want out of your digital. You want to engage with your donors. You want them to donate. But what do they want out of it? And ask yourself, what do they want to know that we're not currently telling them? Ask yourself, what do they want to do that we're not currently helping them to do? I want to talk for a second about algorithms. So here's a quick question. What do these have in common? The guy on the left, David Cameron, and a can of Red Bull. In my view of the world and my thesis, they have what behavioral economists call a thing called confirmation bias, which is how algorithms work. Technically, they work off computers and ones and dots. In an emotional sense, psychological sense, they work off a thing called confirmation bias. We are predisposed to look for the things that confirm what we already think. And we are wired to believe the things that confirm what we already think and to distrust the things that we don't know. That's very important when it comes to who you are to your donors. So when you build your true home in a digital landscape for them to find you, you need to be who they expect you to be. When Ukraine happens, people expected the Red Cross to be there. They expected them to be doing things. They become a lightning rod for that. You need to be where they expect you to be, and you need to ask them what they expect you to ask. We're always very shy. We're still shy in this country of asking. Your donors and your supporters, the people who genuinely care about you, expect you to ask them. They expect you to ask them regularly. And you need to enable them to do what they want to do. They want to add their voice. They don't want to just be a silent partner. They want to engage with you. You need to give them ways of doing that. So step 2 is to make a plan. It can be very simple. List the content that you have, the stories you have, the things that you could share with your donors, with your supporters. Identify your capacity. If you can put out a post a week, if you can put out an email a month, whatever you can manage to do, plan that and then just schedule it. Map it out through the course of the year and follow it. Coordinate all your channels. Don't ever think of digital in isolation or of any digital element in isolation. If you're going to put out an EDM appeal, say to yourself, what can we put out in our socials that marries with that if they happen to see our socials at the same time, will help boost that. Integrated campaigns. What can we put on our website? What can we put on a podcast if we have one? How can we coordinate our appeals with news in our event or news generally? Never think of digital in isolation because it's not this scary thing in the corner. It's part of all of our lives. Step 3 is to tell your story. Your content is absolutely wonderful, all of you. So tell it. But remember that digital is not just about attracting. Everybody will talk to you about keep the 10-second videos and 3-second videos and pre-roll on YouTube and keep it all as short as possible. That's all good to get people engaged with, but your donors and supporters want to engage, and they want to engage with you digitally. So they'll want to see really good, strong content and information of all kinds, and they want to do it on your digital. And digital is two-way. They want to contribute. So they want to do surveys. They want to give their opinion. They want to share their views. Let them, encourage them to do it. And when you're telling your story, include all elements of it. We tend to focus on, we need an impact, need an impact, need an impact. And they're golden. But any kind of information, any kind of updates from your organization are food to your supporters. They want them. Any kind of engagement is food to them. They want it. Talk about impact. Talk about your appeals. Share as many personal stories as you can, because as we said earlier on, all digital is about people. All digital is about human connection. And your staff and your volunteers are key to that. Share stories. Introduce them to your donors. Let them feel part of this community. Let them feel part of this sort of movement. Let them belong, because that's what they want. Make sure your message is layered through it. What I was talking about earlier, you need depth of messaging. Somebody's going to come across an ad of yours and go, that's interesting. Yes, I'm interested in that cause. When they click on, make sure there's all kinds of layers, whatever layers they want of information. Don't be afraid of length. Don't be afraid of length in video. Don't be afraid of length in an email content to send to people. Short ones work better. Yes, absolutely. But short ones on their own won't work as effectively as a short one followed by longer ones that give people more engagement. Don't be afraid of frequency. People are terrified of sending too many emails because people might unsubscribe. Here's the thing. Unsubscribers are a good thing. If sending somebody 10 emails over the space of a couple of months is going to make them unsubscribe for your list, they're not really a supporter of yours. They're not really a donor. It's the best way of cleaning your database. I want to tell you one thing. That's my father and my mother on their wedding day. Managed to make the front of the Irish Evening Press because my dad was a footballer. My mother had MS and died when she was in her 40s. My father passed away about 10 years ago of Alzheimer's and dementia. It is utterly impossible for the Alzheimer's Society or the MS Society to send me too many emails. They could each send me 10 a day. They could ring me. They can bombard my Instagram and my Facebook with messages from me. They can ask me for money as many times as they want. I might not always give. I very seldom give. But I will never walk away from them. And all of your donors, all of your supporters have some connection. It may not be their parents and diseases, but they've submitted to you. They've connected with you because they care about you. That care exists. They want to express that. And if sending them a couple of emails or asking them twice in the space of a month is going to make them go away, then they're not really that supporters. You need to people, as we browse through this internet, you need to give people, the people you're looking for, the people who stop at you and go, oh, that's interesting, and dig deeper and engage with you and answer a survey and want to find out more. They're the people who care. Step 5 is test. The key steps in testing are, of course, the oldest gag in the book. Test again, and test again. Keep testing, because it's the way that you learn. It's the most effective way to get your donors to talk to you and tell you what matters to them. Some quick top tips before I hand that over to Anita. I want to share these with you. Again, never think of digital in isolation or any digital elements in isolation. They're a natural part of your ecosystem. Most fundraisers used to the idea of a banker pack for direct mail, that we have emergencies, that kind of thing can happen. We have one ready to go. We can drop it out whenever we need. It's very good to have a digital suite that talks about your organization and its needs and shares people so that you can respond to anything that happens within your world, anything that's relevant to you at this minute in time. If that goes into the zeitgeist, that you can be there. Again, it's about being who people expect you to be and being where they expect you to be. So if you are an animal rights charity, helping dogs in shelters, and a big story breaks about puppy farms and it's all over the 6-1 news, people expect you to be visible, to pop up in their social media, and you should be ready to do so. Plan for once a week, send an email. I know it's going to give loads of people heart attacks. That's the ideal you want to aim for. If you can't get there, go once a month or something. But you should be talking to your donors that often. Feature your staff and your volunteers. A lot of organizations don't. They're absolutely golden to you. And your donors and supporters identify with them hugely. They feel that their donations are part of the same activity. They're volunteering. Mix lo-fi and hi-fi content. You'll hear a lot of people talking about, lo-fi sort of stuff works best. Videos that are handmade and on phones, people trust them more, which is true. They work really, really well. But mix that with some high quality stuff, because again, it's about being who your donors want you to be. They want you to be immediate and personal and grassroots, but they also want you to be dignified. They want you to have a gravitas. They want you to be the organization that will sort out this problem. That's why they're choosing you as opposed to anybody else to give them their money. 3 things you can do today to improve your digital fundraising. 1 is identify one simple thing that you can improve immediately. Have a chat about it amongst yourselves. Anything at all. Slightest change, cost you no money and no time. Just one thing you can do a little bit better. If you don't have an email sign up on your website, put an email sign up on your website. If you do have an email sign up on your website, interrogate it. Do we offer enough incentive with it? Is the wording on it right? Test a different wording and see if that gets greater response. It's an enormous front door for supporters to come through to you and make sure it's working and is open. And the third one, most important, is send an email today. On any content you can think of that's relevant, send an email to your donors. Doesn't have to be an ask, send them an email today. Last thing I want to tell you is about thinking about digital overall. We get lost in the wires and the grassroots of it. We also start to fear that what our donors are going to be responding to. So we fall into the tricks of advertising. We think we have to sell ourselves. Your donors are your supporters because they care about you. The one thing that every NGO and charity has that commercial products don't have is that what the content you have, the cause you're fighting for, are absolute gold. So you don't need any metaphors. You don't need to be clever. You don't need to be flashy. You just need to be you. I'll leave you with this. This is a piece that we did with Child Vision recently. This is just putting a young man in front of a camera and sharing it with the world. This is the digital content that all of you have. This is the digital content that you can share.
Hoping to be a piano teacher. I absolutely love playing the piano. I also want to work in a teddy bear shop because, as you know, teddy bears are lovely and soft. And for a visually impaired person, tactile is very, very important because you can feel. It's all about the feeling.
If you'd like to be part of Child Vision and be part of creating smiles and giving happiness back to families, please donate now.
I'm being told by the technical team here that some of you may not have heard the sound on that. I know those subtitles on it. If you want, at the very end of this presentation, before you go away, I'll play it for you again. That's the wonderful Noel from Child Vision. Quite gorgeous. If you stop sharing for a sec, Katie, and I'm going to invite Anita back in to join me.
Hi there. Thank you.
It's all yours. If I haven't bored them all to death.
I doubt
There's
that.
2 or 3 people still waiting to hear about SEO and owned media. I'll leave them in your capable hands.
Okay, thank you.
So Anita.
All right. So I'm Anita McGarry. I work with Havas Media as an SEO copywriter, and to back up everything that Alan has already walked us through today is SEO and owned media. SEO is one of those things that tends to maybe shake people up a little bit, but it actually can be quite simple. So I'm going to just add a little human element to SEO today, if possible. That's me there, as you can see. So I have been working in the digital industry, specializing in content for over 7 years now. And I suppose what I always lean towards myself, regardless of who the client might be, is trying to build user satisfaction as well as satisfaction for the robots on Google or Ecosia or whatever search engine it is that you might be working with. And bridging that gap so that you have that human digital connection. So I'm going to be looking a little bit through SEO, CRO, which is conversion rate optimization, and touching a little bit on organic social. So SEO is basically the how to build a digital version of your shop for your users or your customers or your donors to find online. It increases the quality and quantity of traffic to your site. And then CRO, is the next sort of stage in this, where it shows donors how to engage with a web page, or it shows how donors engage with a web page after they click through and how to improve their experience. 75% of people never scroll past the first 10 results on a search engine, and web pages, even in that first position, only have a click-through rate of 32%. So it just goes to show that trying to get on that first page and then as high up on the ranking in that first page as possible is really, really important, just for visibility before it even gets to the stage of them clicking into your website and interacting with it from there. But optimizing a website with SEO will lead to stronger conversion rates across all digital channels. SEO is the core of owned media. We have some more good stats here. 60% of clicks go to the top 3 websites in the SERP, which is the search engine results page. We're going to pick that apart and dissect it a little bit and make it a little bit more understandable and less scary. And 79% of all global search traffic comes through Google, which is why I'm going to use that as my search engine point of reference for the talk today. So we're going to be looking at understanding the search engine results page, then moving on to search queries and content, user experience and conversion rate optimization, and a wee portion at the end there for some Q&A if anyone has any questions they want to pop in for myself or Alan. So understanding the SERP, basically it's like a 2-factor process. So your user, which is your potential donor or anybody who's using a search engine online, has a query. And this query is seen as a problem for Google. So they enter that query into the search engine and then press enter. Google then flicks through its massive digital filing cabinet of all the possible answers they could have for this query and ranks them by asking over 200 questions through its database, ranks them from most relevant to least relevant. And your most relevant then, of course, is the one that appears on top, with second, third, and fourth following on then sequentially. Your search query here, for example, I'm saying again, is the problem. And there's a breakdown here of the answers and the solutions to this problem that Google might give you. So first of all is the local pack. So where a user has maybe added in a geographical element to what they're saying. So the query here is how to donate to animal shelters. If someone has written in how to donate to animal shelters in Dublin, then it's going to narrow that search down to be shelters in Dublin. Likewise, that could be Limerick, it could be Cork, so on and so forth. People also ask is and a section where it shows similar questions that people have used in relation to the term that you have. And all of this information that's popping up here is really helpful to help you then start building up a knowledge of how your users are thinking, what they're looking for, and then how the content that you build and some SEO that's going to come in later, a little bit later, can be built to answer those questions. And all of that helps to create you as your website as a content expert. So I'm just sort of like dropping in these little words because I'm going to be referencing them just now coming up. So tips for appearing on the search engine results page. The first one is to provide answers to audience search queries on site. I think the worst case of user experience is if there is a tag on your website that promises it's going to deliver on a particular thing, the user clicks through and they get there and it's completely irrelevant to what they're looking for. That's immediately you're going to lose that user. So make sure that what you have for the page that you have optimized is answering the user's question that's come through. Second one is to create content that is seen as valuable and educational. And this is really just finding a way to expand on the stories that you talk about. We're going to be looking at that a little bit more where we talk about using the power of storytelling for SEO. Create a My Business account on Google, and then reference business name, address, and phone number on site, which seems like a very simple thing, but so quickly a phone number might change, somebody might retire or leave a business, leave an organization, and then someone new comes in, but the contact for that has changed and hasn't been updated on the website. So it's just one of those things to make sure to check periodically. The fifth point is to keep a page loading time under 2 seconds. People online are quite impatient, myself included, and even more so when people are browsing on mobile. So if the loading time goes over, I think it's 2.7 seconds is the average, they're already gone. So things like too many plugins or a video that hasn't been embedded correctly, or maybe is just too high for the processing engine behind it to actually load it onto the screen, are just some examples of little things that can cause users to click away. And the sixth is to build authority with Google. And this is done through linking to other sites that also have their own authority. And then a positive user experience and links to social media, other forms of own media that you might have online. So moving into search queries and content, how to find search queries on Google. This is super simple. So I'm sure we've all, I'm assuming, have seen Google. In the example here, we have donate to animal. And if you stop there with your query, Google already gives you all these prompts underneath. The suggestions that appear are in order of the top searched queries in relation to what you're looking for. And all of these, I mean, you can just keep a notebook to the side, you can keep an Excel sheet to the side and start jotting all these down. These are what people are looking for in relation to your organization. Having these is just a great way to then start thinking about how you can build out content, whether that's going to be blogs or videos or social media posts in relation to these. Another tip is that by adding an asterisk before a word, as you can see here on the second image, this is how to asterisk charity. And it's giving you lots more variation there. So it's how to start a charity, raise money for charity, register a charity, etc., etc. And again, All of this is giving you another little insight into how your user is navigating online, what it is that they're looking for in relation to your charity or your organization. Another really simple, these are some more simple and some less so, but they can be another way to just get some user insight. So Answer the Public and Always Ask give more examples of questions. And Keyword Surfer is a really cool Chrome extension that you can just have running. So every time you add in a search term or a query, a problem for Google, it pops up on the side, as you can see here, similar keywords, and it'll give their volume and their popularity so that you can see other words that are there. If you find that you're getting repetitive in the keywords that you're using, this is a great way to add in some variation. Using your content to satisfy user intent. Basically, there's 4 areas of intent when a user is online. This is informational, navigational, commercial, and transaction. And all of these can be aligned with a conversion donation funnel by aligning audience search queries with their intent and finding their place on site to boost visibility. So how do we use storytelling to boost audiences, content, and SEO? So I feel like storytelling is seen as very human. It's a great way to emotionally engage with people, whereas SEO is seen as what the computer wants. And yeah, I guess that is it. And there's absolutely no problem to marry the two of them, because essentially that's what they want for positive SEO results. A way that you can do this for your charity is, first case in point, is to build trust with your users with testimonials. You'll have a lot of stories that come in. There's a motivation behind why you do what you do. For donations you have in the past, you know where that money has gone, you know how it's been used. You can show positive outcomes of where those donations have been used, where they've been applied, and the people's lives it's affected. And ways like this are a great way to actually engage with people and affect them. This then rolls into the second point, which is inspiring change, because it gives people that great sense that they themselves are creating positivity with their donations, and it helps feel like you are contributing some good in the world. And then the third point is include some statistics, and it doesn't have to be littered on your site, but have them here and there, especially in case studies or past donation stories where you're showing honesty and transparency in how people's money are being used. And I like to think of these points as, if you're purchasing anything online, if you're purchasing a book, or you're purchasing, it could be a larger purchase, maybe like a laptop, you're going to look at reviews. You're going to see, are these people trustworthy? Can I send my money? Is my money being sent to a safe place? And all of this helps to build that security in people. And I feel like people want security before they're going to impart donations. If people are worried about the quality of their writing, Grammarly is an excellent free tool that helps you coach your writing. It helps you improve your tone and quality. You can adjust it then, whether it needs to be more formal, more casual, and it will coach you along the way to become a better writer over time, or even just give you some handy synonyms to help update your writing as you go. Content calendars are a great way to use everything I've discussed there, where we have the SEO keywords are coming in and the topics. You wouldn't use the same keyword all the time. You'll have them in your headings, you'll have them in body of content, you'll have them across your social media. By having a calendar, you can space this out. You can space the production and the posting of your content, so it becomes less of an overwhelming task for you, but also helps you to periodically refresh your keyword research, maybe see that you've used a keyword a couple of times too many, so you're going to start looking for new ones, and keep your web pages relevant. The more that the search engines see that you update your website and your web pages, the more they see that you are relevant to their search in finding a connection between you and the users online. To put it all together, just a brief synopsis of that there. So you use your research to plan content that answers your user queries, create a visual layout of the content, and ensure to try and answer the queries in the first 125 words. Make sure that you're writing for the user and the content is meaningful. So Google has recently released a new algorithm focusing on the quality of content, which goes back to being a content expert. And that's just to see that you are writing something that is truthful and relevant to what you say your keywords are targeted for, and keep the end goal of the user in mind. The last section is on user experience and conversion rate optimization. So conversion rate optimization, the loading speed of a web page, which I mentioned previously, is a major factor in user experience. 40% of site visits are abandoned if pages take longer than 3 seconds to load. So, and websites with a loading speed of over 5.7 seconds only have a conversion rate of 0.6. So how can you check this? There's lots of free testing tools online. They'll check exit rate, bounce rate. A really good one here is webpagetest.org, which tests websites at consumer connection speeds. So you're seeing a very accurate representation of how that website is appearing for your users. You can get details of these exit rate, bounce rates. If they're fine, then you're golden. If there's any issues, then these are the ones that you would send to your development team to explore a little bit more, get some insights and see how you can fix and improve. Heat maps are basically like looking through the eyes of the users on your website. We typically would use Crazy Egg, Microsoft Clarity, and Hotjar, and it's exactly what it says on the tin. Where it's hotter is where your user is interacting the most, and where it's colder, which is typically towards the bottom of the page, is where they're interacting the least. So you can see the parts where they're more interested and less interested. Maybe if you see that there's more sort of activity down the bottom, then they could be sections. Maybe you need to reorganize your content, bring some of that content higher up so that it's more visible. And again, this moves back into the user journey and the user experience quality of your website as well. Some of them have interaction figures as well, where you can see where they're trying to click on buttons. Sometimes they might click on images, which happens very often, where they might be hovering over an image, expecting there to be some information there. And if you see that this is something that your users want, it's something that you can then build into your website to answer that need. And then this is a really great page to talk about, is the best practice for your donation page. You want to keep your language simple. It wants to be direct and to the point. I think it can be a real slowdown for people, and maybe a turn off for donations as well, if they can see the form, the first stage of the form, but they're not sure how many stages there are to go and how many questions do I need to answer. And this sort of mindset that happens to us all, where you think you had X amount of time to fulfill this task, but now you're not sure how long it's going to run on for. If they can see every stage there and you give them that clarity and transparency from the get-go, there's a much stronger likelihood of them carrying through with that donation. And little prompts here, like we have in the example from Focus Ireland, where they can make a single donation or a regular donation. We give sample, donations that are allowed or that are applicable for them here, and then they can also decide their own donation amount. The only problem with the example is that the form doesn't fully fit on screen, but this is, I think overall it's a small factor in terms of the actual clarity of the form itself. And then for your donation button, and we have a sample here in the center where it's inquiry and donate. You want to use contrasting colors so that visually it presents itself to the user as soon as they're on the page. Make this button bigger so that it can be seen as the most important button. Legible font and direct text, because these buttons are a literal call to action. So it wants to be just, this is how you do the job. You inquire, you donate, make a donation. And keep the button above the fold basically means that it's there, it's visible before the user needs to scroll. And maybe you could look at incorporating it into a sticky menu on the top, so that as they scroll down through the website, it stays there. And finally, the content journey and donation funnel are two elements that really work in harmony with each other to help drive conversion on your website. Your users are going to visit the website, they're going to engage with the content that's there. They hopefully will subscribe. And then the last point, which is the whole goal, we hope, is that they will donate. And it's good to keep these funnels in mind. They can work together. There can be separate funnels on your website. There can be one that will work through engagement for subscriptions and one that will work through engagement for donations. And the subscription one ultimately will also steer them towards donations as well. And finally, it's great to have a completion page so that there is that sense of completion and accomplishment for your users and your donors as well. This will pop up just to say thank you for your donation, so they'll feel seen and appreciated. And there's a little bit more that we can do, and this is what to show the success of that, which is in Google Analytics, but we're going to be covering that in a future session here with Persuasion Republic. So I'm going to invite Alan back in here beside me.
You can stop sharing there, Katie. Wow, yeah, there's first of all, I have to say to everybody, relax, it's okay. We will be sending, everybody will get a PDF of the presentation. There'll also be a recording which will be made available so you can go through, particularly I know people want to go back through all the detail you've gone through there.
There's a lot.
There's a lot to go through. Really interesting in my perspective when you listen to all of that incredible, powerful machine of Google and search engines and what it can do, when you think of it through that lens that I was talking about earlier on, it's just this machine that helps your donor find what it is that they want to do. How do we give them the thing that they're looking for, as opposed to how do we convince them and corner them into doing it? How do we help them? If you think about it that way, it's a real sort of turn. We will notify you the next session. It's going to be in 2 weeks' time. We will email you all around, let you know what's on. In the meantime, if you do have any questions about other stuff you want us to cover, or questions about Happen Today, please do send them in to us, and we'll give you the PDF, as I said, and the recordings we made available. There's a couple of questions have come in. Yes, we try. I know lunch is looming. I'll just answer them sort of very briefly. One that was, I know Eamon Sharkey from Gold had asked a question about brand, and we might cover brand in a couple of the sessions. One thing that strikes me about that point I was making earlier on, I think is quite key to brands generally, is the idea of being who people expect you to be, and doing the things that they expect you to do. The Red Cross being the Red Cross, and goal being goal, and the image that people have of you. It takes back to another question that came in, which I did, which was, what actually do Donald Trump, David Cameron, and Red Bull have in common? And I didn't. And it's confirmation bias. The idea is that Donald Trump can do all that Donald Trump does, and it's not going to change people's voting pattern, because he's not contradicting what they think they know of him. Everybody thought that, it's a well-known and documented thing in research in political spheres in England. Everybody thought David Cameron was a nice bloke to go for a beer with. So as long as he didn't contradict that, whatever else he did wasn't going to change their view of David Cameron. Therefore, they trusted him. Red Bull, the story, many of you probably know the story, the concern about Red Bull, I thought was really fascinating. It's been told so many times, might be apocryphal now, but the notion was that they were marketing this energy drink. I think it was going to give you a jolt in the boat, but the original version of it was quite sweet. So after researching, they put something in it to make you go, oof, make it sharp, because people expected it to give them a shock. And when that shock wasn't there, they didn't quite trust this sort of drink. It's that notion. That's the way brand works, is people. Your brand belongs to your supporters and your viewers, not you. They tell you who you are. And that impression of you, whoever they think you are, you need to sort of be that. You can educate them and expand on all the work that you do in other realms when they have a deeper engagement. But in that shop window, in that first world, at those moments of crisis, and at those key moments of donation, you need to be who they want you to be, and be who they expect you to be, if that makes sense. Your lunch is brewed. Thanks a million, Anita.
Thank you too.
For all of that. We'll be back to you in 2 weeks' time. Again, we'll make all this available to you and share the recording and the PDFs with you. And if you have any questions, please send them in. Have a great couple of weeks, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks a million, folks.